Hey, stay tuned to the end of the show so you can figure out how to win $100. Every offseason, there's a moment when the conversation around quarterbacks start drifting in the wrong direction. People start talking about names. They start talking about contracts. They start talking about the headlines. But that's not how quarterback power actually works in the NFL. Quarterback power comes from structure. It comes from usage. It comes from availability. It comes from whether an offense runs through the quarterback or just around him. And right now across the league, some quarterback rooms are stable, some quarterback rooms are rising, and some quarterback rooms still haven't decided who they are yet. And when you understand where quarterback power actually sits across the league, fantasy decisions get clearer, betting decisions get sharper, and expectations start matching reality. So today, we ranking all 32 NFL quarterbacks right now. The league just shifted. Hey, where's my theme music?
Motion left to right, or nothing there. Now he tries to run, breaks a tackle, dives for the end zone, fumbled the football, left sideline, midfield, 40, 30, 20, 10, touchdown!
Yeah, here we go.
Throws back of the end zone. There's CeeDee Lamb.
Unbelievable.
We're back. You're listening to Football is Money on footballismoney.com. Here's your host. They call me boss.
Welcome back to Football is Money, man. I appreciate y'all for tapping in. Look, today we stepping back and looking at the entire NFL quarterback landscape, all 32 teams, and resetting where the quarterback control actually sits across the league right now. Now, this episode ain't about reacting to headlines, and it's not about ranking quarterbacks based on reputation. It's about projection. Because once coaching structure starts shifting and quarterback rooms start changing direction, the league starts separating itself faster than most people realize. So, today, we are doing three things. First, we have to update the AFC quarterback rankings. Then we're going to revisit the NFC quarterback rankings. And after that, we stack all 32 quarterbacks into one full league-wide projection board. Because once you see where quarterback control actually lives across this league, everything makes more sense. Yes, sir. Hey, and a quick reminder. The $100 Football is Money giveaway wheel spins next week. So there is still time to get your name on the wheel before the deadline. All right? Just stay tapped in through the episode to see how you can get a bonus entry added to the wheel this week. Before we move into the rankings, there's something important to keep in mind about the offseason. Remember, every year around this time, people react to the wrong signals. Don't let that be you. Don't react to draft position. Don't react to the headlines. Don't react to who went first, second, third round. None of that. Draft position does not determine projection. All right. System determines projection. Okay. Coaching determines projection. Usage determines projection. And most importantly, whether the offense runs through the quarterback or if the quarterback just another cog in the system, right? Because sometimes teams draft players to support their quarterback. Sometimes they draft players to protect their quarterback. And sometimes they draft players because they're preparing to replace their quarterback. And if you don't understand the difference between those three moves, it becomes very easy to misread what's happening across the league. That's why in this episode, we're not ranking reputation, we're ranking projection. So let's start with the conference where the quarterback pressure is the highest right now. And that's the AFC. Let's start with Tier 4, identity forming. So all of these teams, quarterbacks, they still forming their identity, so to speak. Number 16, we got Cleveland. Open competition keeps projection limited. 15, Miami. New structure around Malik Willis is forming, but still developing. Tennessee coming up next. Second-year quarterback, new head coach, new receivers. Timeline still early. All right. 13, we got Vegas Raiders. Veteran bridge plus future starter behind them means structure is still settling. These ain't weak quarterback rooms. They're early timeline quarterback rooms, right? We got to see how it unfolds. Now we move into the transition control environments, right? Transitional control. Number 12, we got the Colts. Daniel Jones continuity with the head coach helps, but personnel limits ceiling consistency. Next, New York Jets. Oh, I like that. Geno Smith, stable quarterback presence, but offensive timeline still forming long term, right? Number 10, Pittsburgh. Rodgers, Will Howard. If Rodgers plays, the system stabilizes. If not, the timeline shifts again. Number 9, Kansas City. Fields, Mahomes. Temporary structure shift while waiting for Mahomes' return timeline. So these quarterbacks can manage offenses now, right? But the structure around them is still evolving. Now, let's move into the true offensive control quarterbacks. Tier 2. These are the guys that control their offenses. We're going to start at the bottom. Number 8, CJ Stroud. Houston runs through him, but ceiling sits low just below the conference control level. All right. Number 7, Justin Herbert. He has elite arm talent with consistent passing volume structure. So, that got him up here. Number 6, Trevor Lawrence. Jacksonville offensive identity runs directly through him, right? Number 5, we got Bo Nix. Denver has clearly committed to building the system around him. So these quarterbacks control their offenses on a week-to-week basis, but the next tier controls the conference. This here, Tier 1, conference control tier. Let's see, we got Drake May at number 4. New England structure is now clearly built around him as well. Number 3, Lamar Jackson. Explosive playmaking changes matchups every week, right? Number 2, we got Joe Burrow. Elite passing structure if he can stay healthy. Number 1, Josh Allen. We got passing production. We got rushing leverage. You got red zone dominance. Weekly consistency. So this is where AFC quarterback control lives right now. Now, before we get into the full league structure, one question. What are we ranking for? What are we ranking for? What are we ranking for? People always bring up playoff wins. They bring up Super Bowls. They want to start talking about legacy and all of that matters historically, true enough, but that's not what we are ranking here. How many times I got to say this, right? This is football is money. This is fantasy football. This is betting football. This is projection, man. Playoff wins don't help your fantasy line up in week 6. Super Bowl rings don't help your prop bets in week 11. I'm just saying, but usage does, right? What players getting the opportunity does, right? Structure do. Structure, that's one of the biggest factors. Availability is the biggest factor, right? So before anyone disagree with the rankings, first decide, what are you ranking for? Because here we rank projection, all right, with the highest probability. So before we move into the full QB rankings in the NFL, quick reminder, footballismoney.com is live with everything we're building this season. We got our fantasy leagues are open again, 4 divisions. Division winners advance automatically, 2 wild card spots. Consistency matters across the full season. So don't join if you're not ready to play. All right. And you can also access our partners on the website like Amazon. They got deals for that. Bovada sign-up bonuses are available. If you're preparing for the betting season, and it's not just football, they have all sports and casinos and everything on there. And if you want to directly support the show, Football is Money Plus is available on the website as well. But I will make sure to put all of those links in the show description. And a reminder, once again, the giveaway wheel spins next week. So there is still time to get your name on the wheel. All right, stay tuned to the end of the show. I'm going to give you the bonus question for this week. Now, let's stack the full league. 32 quarterbacks. All right, so before we stack the full league together, right, just remember what we already built on the NFC side. Let me throw this slide up right here. All right, because this isn't new information, this is everything we've been working towards over the last couple of months coming together in one place. We went through every division week to week. Now on the NFC side, we already organized the quarterbacks into the projection tiers. Conference control, conference impact, system dependent, and stability transition, right? And once you group quarterbacks with their peers instead of comparing names across the headlines or whatever, the rankings start to take shape and the projections start to sharpen, right? And the draft decisions start to feel more intentional. And we did the exact same thing with the NFC, right? So now, this is the moment where everything connects. You understand? Because once we merge the NFC structure with the NFC structure and stack all 32 quarterbacks together into one league-wide board, you will be able to see exactly where quarterback value sits heading into 2026. And more importantly, this is the board that should help you draft the quarterback position this year with confidence, with ease, with pleasure. All mine, of course. So now, how to use the full QB rankings, right? Before we stack these quarterbacks together, I guess we can call this my disclaimer, right? There's one important thing I want you to keep in mind when looking at this board. This is not a prediction that the quarterback at the number 1 automatically outperforms everybody under him. And it's not saying the quarterback at the bottom is going to be the worst quarterback in the league this season. What this board shows you is probability structure. As you move from the top of the board down towards the bottom, you are moving through decreasing levels of weekly projection control. But every year, it's quarterbacks outside the top tier that produce top tier weeks. And finding those players, that's where the advantage lives, right? That's the goal, honestly. So when you look across all 32 teams, all 32 quarterbacks, you should be asking yourself one question and one question only. Where is the value for my draft? Because yes, the quarterback at the top of the board can give you some of your biggest weekly numbers in football, but they also cost premium draft capital. And sometimes, just sometimes, if you can find a mid-tier quarterback producing strong weekly numbers while still securing your hero running back or your high-volume receiver, whatever the case may be, your early picks, your roster becomes stronger overall. And that's how structure wins leagues. Trevor Lawrence was a great example of that last season, right? Mid-tier price, high-level weekly return. And Their profile wins matchups. So this board isn't telling you to draft this quarterback first and draft this quarterback last. This board is showing you where production environments exist across the league. So you can identify value based on your strategy. Personally, in standard one quarterback formats, I usually don't draft a quarterback in the first 2 or 3 rounds because you can still find quarterbacks later, right? Without sacrificing early positional strength. Now, if you're in a 2 quarterback league, it changes the equation completely. But in most formats, you're not required to draft the number 1 quarterback. I don't see any benefit of doing that. Especially these days, these guys are getting thirstier every year. So, yeah. So, like I say, in most formats, you're not required to draft the number 1 quarterback to get number 1 production weeks. And if you prefer streaming quarterbacks, like rotating based on matchups week to week, their strategy can work too. The goal here isn't to tell you what to do. My goal is to give you the structure so you can make better decisions for your roster. Not mine, for yours. Now. It is time to stack all 32 quarterbacks across the league. This is the full quarterback power rankings. Starting at tier 4. 8 quarterbacks with 8 situations in each tier. We're going to run through it fast. 32, we got Jacoby Brissett, Carson Beck, Arizona. 31, Tyler Shough, New Orleans. 30, Shadur Sanders, Deshaun Watson out in Cleveland. Down in Miami, we got Malik Willis at 29, Cam Ward at 28. Number 27, we got Kirk Cousins, Fernando Mendoza out in Vegas. 26, we have Tua and Penix in Atlanta. 25, Kyler Murray, J.J. McCarthy, Minnesota. These are timeline forming quarterback environments, right? It all depends on the timeline and how everything progresses. Now, structure begins stabilizing with these next quarterbacks in tier 3. And we're going to call them the system-dependent quarterbacks. We got Justin Fields, Kansas City Chiefs. We got Rodgers, Howard, Pittsburgh. We got Daniel Jones in the Colts, Geno Smith, New York Jets, Bryce Young, Carolina, Baker Mayfield, Tampa Bay, Jackson Dart, New York, J-Lo, Green Bay. So these quarterbacks can win within the structure, but structure still influences the projection. Now we move into the conference impact players, right? Tier 2. We got C.J. Stroud at number 16. We got Sam Darnold at number 15. Justin Herbert at 14. Jared Goff at 13. Bo Nix at 12. Trevor Lawrence at 11. Jaden Daniels at 10. Caleb Williams at 9. These quarterbacks influence standings weekly. So, you can put them in. This is where most of your value is going to be within these quarterbacks. Okay, now let's move into the top tier conference control quarterbacks. Number 8, we got Drake May.
Yeah, Drake. Drake.
All right, number 7, we got Matthew Stafford. 6, Jalen Hurts. 5, Brock Purdy. 4, Lamar Jackson. 3, Dak Prescott. 2, Joe Burrow. Number 1, Josh Allen. What's up? What's happening? Oh, you mad? You don't want Dak to be number 3? You don't want my guy Dak to be like, what would you do? Who would you change? How would you change this out? Let me know. Lamar Jackson number 4, Dak number 3, Joe Burrow number 2, Josh Allen number 1. Man, that's my ranking. That's my top 4 right there. And like I say, it's all projection based off production. This is where the league-wide quarterback leverage lives. This is where it lives at, man. All right, so let's head to the final drive, no huddle, man. Let me give you some of that boss talk real quick. So I'm going to tell you this right off the ripper, man. Look, you can follow the clickbait, you can follow the hype, or you can follow the information. Understand when I say this. Draft position doesn't determine projection. System determines projection. Opportunity determines projection. Structure determines projection. So don't draft in the dark, man. Draft with context. Because opportunity creates production and production creates value. The best fantasy quarterbacks, they not always the ones that's blowing teams out. To me, they're the ones still throwing the ball in the fourth quarter trying to get a touchdown to tie the game up and going to overtime and hopefully throw some more, right? Late game volume creates points, man. Opportunity creates production. So when you're looking at these quarterbacks, 1 through 32, look at it like this in tiers. Tier 1 quarterbacks create touchdown stability. Tier 2 quarterbacks create matchup leverage. Tier 3 quarterbacks create situational value. Tier 4 quarterbacks create edges, right? So know the tier and you know how aggressive you need to be, right? Most people watch football for highlights. Sharp players watch football for structure because structure shows what repeats. And repeatable outcomes, that's where the money is, my boy. So if you got any value from today's episode, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, tell a friend to tell a friend. You dig? Share the episodes, what I'm saying. And stay tapped into the community. All right? I'm your host. They call me Boss. This is Football is Money. But before we leave, I almost forgot to give you your bonus question. Can you tell me where is the money? Where's the money? That's it. Where the money at, man? All right. I'm your host. They call me Boss. This is Football is Money. And we out.
That's a wrap. Thanks for listening to Football is Money. Find every episode and more at footballismoney.com.